Crypto market is in red today. The market dropped on average 3.4%. Bitcoin is down 4%. XRP is down 3%. But it's not the time to panic because the market is showing you that it has more room. At least it has not yet broken a major range of support. If that's what Bitcoin is doing, now you have to look at the monthly close of XRP, monthly close of Bitcoin, the entire market. See, you're looking at the total crypto market. And that consists of all these coins, the fundamentals, the utility, the bullshit coins, everything. The market is showing you it has higher odds that it will bounce back up. Now, this is not a point where you put in a lot of doubt because historically speaking, this range has been acting as a support or a resistance, and that is true at this time too. Why would I highlight that? Because the price action is showing you it came down to a support level, and at that support level, it is creating an inverse hammer on a weekly. That's a major shift because the monthly just closed and it looks bullish. The total crypto market, excluding Bitcoin and Ether, is showing you something similar. The Bluff, which we talked about, was this candle in August. It started there and it did move through the second week. But after that, these 2 weeks are showing you that those who can think are accumulating as much as possible, and whales and financial institutions are playing their major part. Believe me, if all this is true, and that's in front of your eyes, you can watch that. That means they are going to use this panic to remove a lot of retail and then push the price to the sky high. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. As we look at the price action, we do have to understand what the market shows us. If the market is coming down and showing you this pattern, now you need to ask that question: is that candle happening at a roof, close to a resistance, or at the bottom? Because you can actually see if it's happening at the roof, that's a rejection to the downside. Whereas if you see the exact same candle at the bottom at a support level, that shows you the price now has more interest in moving up. Now, it can literally happen through a little bit of volatility. Again, the whales don't want you and me to make money. So it's our choice to stay in the market, to learn from the market, to identify these movements. If they are doing something again and again and again throughout the history, we're not smarter than history. At least I'm not. So if you go back and at that support range, you see these kind of panic drops, don't really panic because the market usually does these kind of moves before it really take off. If you actually measure these moves, it's like a 40-50% drop. So if you did panic during that time, what you missed is the next big run up. You missed the next big run up. Again and again, it's the same story. So why should it be different this time? Now, you're watching the entire market, and the entire market shows you, I'm about to run back up. I mean, I'm really happy to go back up. That's what the market is showing you. And especially when we take a closer look at this market, which is of more interest to us because XRP plays a big role in this. Because, you know, in the alts, you're excluding Ether and you're looking at it. So the biggest coin there is XRP. So if XRP itself has the possibility to go up, that will reflect here. And all of us have XRP. Most of us have a lot of different payment assets. And all of them are looking better at this point. Now, yes, if you zoom in and look at today's price action, you will actually put the narrative here saying, it's actually in red. Yeah, I agree. It is in red. That's where the opportunity comes in. But what we have to understand is that you go into XRP price chart. This is the monthly chart. We just got a monthly close. What exactly are we doing here? Is it a lot of noise? Okay, sure. Let's take that into a line chart. And this is exactly what the line chart shows you. You are making a trend. You are trying to move higher. You're not actually trending lower. It doesn't look like that. You're breaking higher. You're correcting back down. You're continuing these kind of momentum. It is literally something you have to understand, that when the price is trending, you don't go against that trend. If the price is trending, you don't go against that trend. Here during that phase, it was trending to the downside. It was putting in lower highs consistently. Yes, at some point you saw the momentum to the downside was lower, but that didn't change the fact that the trend was to the downside and the next leg was big. Imagine if you are to watch these and say, now the trend is reversing and the price goes up, boom. That would be a huge miss. That can be a 300% run up in just the XRP as one asset in the market. And you'll see a lot of small cap, micro caps bursting 30x, 40x for sure. That's true, but your risk is very much higher in those micro caps. So you are too concentrated there saying, okay, I'm actually focusing on reducing my risk. And maybe you have 1% there, 5% there. Unlike XRP, I'm like, heavy on XRP. That's one of the biggest portion of my portfolio. So if I'm looking at that and saying like, okay, if that's my level of risk in this asset, what am I looking at? Because it's actually putting in a higher high, higher high, higher low. There is a trend formation. And if I'm looking back, I would actually put in a perspective saying, okay, last time we had the first run up, we did have a big shakeout. And that shakeout was kind of extended because the SEC case came and a lot of delisting started happening, all those crazy things happened. Right now, we don't have those crazy things. Instead, what we have is positive movements in the price action. If you listen to all these things, now this is a little bit old, but understand, when he gives you the idea that half of the entire transaction happening on Ripple is using XRP in the XRP ledger, I mean, there is no denying the fact that this asset has massive utility. Because at the other end, we're just watching the economy is drawing down. It's coming back down in a lot of different nations. And we all understand that, okay, each and everyone has our own opinion. But those who have been in the market for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, looking at these different kind of investments as assets, some of them really believe that XRP is going to become big. It's going to become something big in the space of payments. And we all agree on that point. And we are talking about the same thing from 2, 3, 4 years. Why is that? Because the reality hasn't changed. The utility, the adoption has only increased from that point. But what makes us think this is not going up? It's the psychology. It's the psychology of the market. But right now, if you actually take a look at this move here, we are still following the same psychology. We haven't actually changed the direction. We are still inside this pattern. It's still volatile, of course, for sure. The entire market is volatile. But remember, the entire market is also showing you this pattern at this point. That point is really important to note because whenever you have actually shown something like this, say, if you actually look at this hammer, you got a bounce just after that. Now, yeah, you got a lot of indecision candles in between, but you know what the trend was. And you followed the trend. You won. Same thing comes back again, a hammer, and then you go back up. So if it's me looking at this price, I would say even if the price is going to go a little bit lower, close on the green side or the red side, I'm still happy. Why? Because the odds increases. Why? If you remember, I've shown you this. Keep this in mind. When the price action candle looks like a doji, it's like 55% probability. But when it actually looks something like this, wow, that's an 80% odds. If it closes without a wick to the other side, it's a 70% odds. So for me, I'm looking at this candle on a weekly. I'm like, okay, we have a couple of days to go. Great, that's fine, that's good. I have the patience to wait for that candle to close before I make any big judgment. Because when you see this happening at a support level, we are watching, okay, what happened just before that? The last candle we're talking about showed us, it is showing a hammer, which shows Bulls are entering. They want to push the price to the upside. Great. Now we are watching the next candle. It already pushed the price upside for sure, and it came back down. Why? With the news, the SEC just delayed. And that's a little bit of overreaction. We know how SEC is getting, hit hard by all these codes and all these news. Everything is true. So this reaction from the market is totally panic. That means it's a huge opportunity, because you go look at a lot of different assets in the market right now, you will understand what I'm saying. If you actually take a look at, now we've been going in detail about all these assets as much as possible, going through one by one, looking at, a lot of these opportunities. Now, if you are interested in things like that, where you want proper explanation of why this is happening, what's happening, and all that, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. Now, jumping back, keep this in mind. You're just looking at the price action, saying, okay, this was the resistance. It's turning into a support. We had a long way to the downside, but the price came back up closing. Now we are retesting that range. Nothing has changed. This was the time where I told you guys, I'm expecting a bluff in the market. It did come, right? Just before this started, we actually showed you the idea that it's about to drop, and it dropped. Now we are looking for the retest, and it is happening. And you're getting a doji. Now, it's not complete yet. It's not closed yet. But you can see the bulls tried to push it up. Bears tried to push it down. It's still staying above the moving average. And that's positive. If the price action is staying above the 21 moving average, and that to EMA, on a weekly, that's something you cannot deny. Just go back and look at how the price has been acting with this, right? Each time it comes, they get rejected. So it was respecting that range. It had a fake out first. Then the next time it made a double bottom on a macro, it went up. Now it should act as a support. There is no going back. That's the truth. Now you go back here, taking this into XRP. Now you need to understand one thing. Was XRP following this 21-day moving average? Let's kind of remove the 100-day from here for a moment and look at this. It's same weekly. However, historically speaking, for some reason, XRP is not obeying the 21-day moving average. And I'm like, hey, that's not good. Then what's your reference point like? You'll have to play with it. You'll have to change this and see what it actually looks like. You take a 50-day moving average in XRP and the price action shows you it's somewhat okay. You come down to that range, you get a bounce. You test that range, you get rejected, but it's not the perfect one. And if you're looking at something, fine-tuning, like if you're a mechanic, you're like looking at the engine, you're fine-tuning that. You're like, okay, somewhere around 75, somewhere around 60, it does look okay, right? And if that's true, now it's on our side to put that, say, 65-day moving average, and you're looking at this and saying like, okay, we're getting as a resistance, as a support, as a support, as a resistance, as a resistance. So most likely that's going to be support. We're still at that range. Things have not changed. Now, the wick to the downside has been 0.42. We're still at 0.5. So if you see some volatility before we go back up, don't get surprised, because we do have some supply and demand equation playing out here. This was the resistance before, which turned into a support. That support held even during that panic drop, that massive shake out. So now all of this is macro. If you zoom in to see what's happening, that is something which will help you to identify that this shakeout is more or less over in my perspective. Now, I can be wrong for sure, but why do I think this is going up? If you actually look at these candles, what do you actually see? We have all gone through these candles. We have all seen these patterns over the time. We have actually taken a lot of these classes, right? It usually shows you one candle to the upside, 3 candles to the downside to test that same bottom. It makes that bottom and goes back up. Now, if you don't believe me, what you have to do is easily go into a daily chart, weekly chart for the exact same asset and see how market has been responding for this particular asset. Say, if you look at this point, you had one candle to the upside and then 2 candles to the downside to test the same, and then boom, you went up. Now, we can say, okay, that was the court judgment, so we got extended to the upside, but still you get the argument here, right? Now, say, for example, okay, if that's just one incident on a scale, which is a daily chart, you can actually go on a 3-day chart or a weekly chart. Say, in trading, you don't get a 3-day chart, so we are actually using this. Great. Now, we go back and you're looking at this to put that argument. And it shows you the fact that, okay, you had 2 candles to the upside and another 5 candles to the downside to test the exact same range. What happens? You get a hammer and you go back up. So the price does give us a bit of idea. Now take the exact same thing and look at this. I mean, yes, there is a lot of volatility. There is no argument in that. But this one candle which went to the upside is still relevant. That's the mother candle right now. After which we are taking a hell lot of time to come back down to test that range. That's 6 weeks. 1 week of upside is taking 6 weeks to fight to come back to test that support. So the bears, they are now frustrated with the holders because they are like, these guys are strong. They're not selling it. For sure, whatever you do, I really don't give a damn because I've been studying this asset for a long period of time and accumulating this from 5-6 years. And I'm like, it was hard holding on to this asset and buying more and more. So whatever you do, I'm not going to give up. I'll just buy more if you push the price lower because I know you're going to buy at the bottom because buy low and sell high is the common sense. But during the panic, people forget that. You know, initially, we all have that days, right? We sell at the bottom, then the price action goes back up. For me, it was back in 2016, 2017 time because I learned it the hard way. And that is one of the primary reasons why I take a lot of time to go through a lot of these assets to give you guys the hard learned lessons because these lessons were not easy, right? And that's why I'm sharing it over there. And you can go into the Google images. It's really easy. If you identify one candle and you're like, okay, what the hell is happening? I want to see historically when this candle happens at a support or at a resistance, what comes through, right? That's something we need to know. Because say, just like we discussed, you have one candle at the downside and it is followed by another 4-5 candles to the upside. That means here bulls are weak. Boom, you go down. That is sensible. Great. Exact same thing. You just get one candle to the upside, after which a lot of these candles to the downside. That means, boom, you're going to watch the next candle going to the upside. But those who sell during this volatile time here, that's who the whales and financial institutions really want to take out from the market to benefit their portfolio. For us, we are the scientific investor family. We study the price action, we study the psychology of the market, and we see what these whales are doing to us. So if you have that idea and you're like, okay, I've made this mistake last time, this time you're not going to get my XRP, this time you're not going to get my asset like that, great. Just don't leverage heavily. Stay in the market, understand what the price action is doing. If it's trending lower, don't touch it. Don't put a lot of money in there unless it's not leveraged and you're long term. If it's leveraged and it's trending lower, it can be painful. We have, gone through those kind of scenarios too. We learn from the hard time, but we don't want to repeat that during another hard time just to go bankrupt. You want to make sure you are in an asset which is trending higher, which is putting in higher high, higher low structure, so that you're buying when it is at the support, not when it is at the resistance. You will win this race. And if you're looking to win this race with the SI family, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, if you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.